right, well, hey there, everybody. John here with Crypto Top 10, back again to talk to you about some of the trending articles in the crypto news space. It's a slower news day today. Everyone's still probably feeling that massive downturn we've had in the market recently. Things have stabilized a little bit. My only hope is that we start seeing some massive gains to offset that massive drop we had over the past weekend. But hey, before we get into things, as always, thank you for everyone who has subscribed. I really do appreciate it. And if you haven't, why not? Depending on where you find it, it's a good way to keep up to date on what's going on in the crypto world, as well as letting me know what I'm doing right. And if you check out down in the description, depending on where you'll find this, you'll either find a link that will take you to the articles talked about or links to the articles themselves so you can read up on these for yourself and maybe check out some of the other articles on these fine websites. I rather like them. But hey, without further ado, let's hop into things. First up on the docket, the Cardano Foundation just appointed its first CEO. So they have been repeatedly criticized by the community in recent months. Who hasn't? In which even led to the foundation proposing its own roadmap. It has hired 2 new employees. They just announced yesterday Frederick Giergaard has been appointed as the first Chief Executive Officer, and Ava Oberholzer has been appointed as Head of Growth. These 2 new appointments were made to drive corporate adoption and promote solutions to build Cardano. Makes sense to me. Cardano had quite the run up to Shelley. It was like 14.3.4 cents depending on where you're buying it. It's down in the low 9s or high 8s depending on how this bloodbath has been. Post Shelley, even though the coin has not changed fundamentally other than becoming slightly more usable. So I can see where the criticism's coming in. They're like, hey, you guys need to have a better strategy going on so that way Cardano continues to grow effectively and the price continues to increase. Both these additions come as the needs of the Cardano protocol are shifting pretty significantly. Like I said, Shelley was a major game changer. Staking is live on Cardano. About a third of the staking that's going on right now is being done by the users themselves, and that percentage is slowly going up, and eventually these user-owned pools will be doing all of the transaction validations on the network as the foundation, IOHK, and Emergo step farther and farther back. So they're doing all that, plus the rollout of Goguen, which are smart contracts coming this year. So you need to have some people in charge who know that they need to be pushing these things to help the industry and Cardano specifically develop. Excuse me. So Giergaard will be responsible for increasing enterprise use cases in priority industries across key geographies. Makes sense. Obviously, you need that. He'll be leading the foundation's pretty diverse global team and working on the strategic direction of the organization. Never underestimate the value of a leader providing that strategic direction. The day-to-day office grunts are going to be the people who make it happen, but having that vision and knowing what direction to point things is important. Giergaard has actually pretty good bona fides to back this up. He worked for PwC Switzerland prior to this. He headed the Digital Financial Services Department in Zurich and advised regulators and financial services companies on the value of blockchain. So he comes to Cardano as an experienced blockchain evangelist. So he has those network connections that he can then leverage to push Cardano. So I actually think he's a pretty darn good get. I really like it. So Ava Oberholzer is going to be taken over as the newly created role as Head of Growth. She'll be responsible for meeting the needs of stakeholders at management levels to create new opportunities for the Cardano blockchain. Again, something that's definitely needed. It looks like Giergaard's going to focus on the corporate side of things, while Oberholzer will be focusing on the littler guys, quote unquote, people like you and me, stake pool owners and operators, which I'm not one, and things like that on what they need to succeed and how that can help the Cardano blockchain grow. All in all, couple of really good gets for them. We're not going to see any immediate price increases or anything like that, but these are the moves that a company like Cardano needs to make for long-term success in the field. And I like what they're doing. I think they're going to be okay. But hey, let's hop on over and talk about Kraken. We talked about on the channel previously, but just as a refresher, Kraken is going to be the first U.S. crypto bank based out of Montana. Boy, I hope I'm remembering that right. I have Wyoming in my head for some reason, but I'm pretty darn sure it's Montana. So U.S.-based Kraken Financial is unveiling what it plans to do with this new crypto banking license. Over on the Unchained podcast with Laura Shen. Pretty good podcast. Check it out if you haven't. Kraken Financial CEO David Knitsky reveals the services that its retail customers can expect once the company becomes operational. They're going to have direct access to the federal payment system and be able to more seamlessly integrate funding and withdrawal mechanisms and payment mechanisms into their products. Boy, that's a lot of gobbledygook. Basically, better customer experience. It's easier for you to switch and move and all that stuff with your crypto and your assets. They'll have things like debit cards backed by digital assets. They'll support staking, IRA accounts, and other tax advantage accounts. Love me a good Roth IRA personally. Things like wealth management and investment product services, and more. Not going to go too far into things. Knitsky also highlighted that unlike traditional banks that take advantage of fractional reserve banking system, Kraken's going to actually be required to keep 10% reserves. So basically, your traditional bank has like a minimum amount of cash that they have to keep on hand for people like you and me to be able to draw whenever we want, but they're actually able to invest decent portions of it into different sectors and lend it out in terms of loans. Kraken's bank is not going to be able to do this. They have to keep 100% reserves on hand, so the company's not going to be able to lend money that we deposit as a means to generate income. So they're not going to be able to make money on loans like traditional banks have. So they're going to have to rely on some other methods so that way they can make money and do business. You know, withdrawal fees, percentages for services rendered and things like that. So it's not perfect. If they were able to lend out some of this money, I think it'd be much better for the user experience like you and me, because they wouldn't have to have some of these fees, or they could have lower fees because they're making money in different ways. So it's not ideal, but it's what they got going on. It's simply the first step in what's going to be an interesting experiment. I really, really like that they've done it. And of course, I'm an idiot. It is Wyoming Banking Board that issued the Special Purpose Depository Institution Charter, not Montana, because I'm a big old dumb dummy. I told you it was one of the two, but well, they'll be based out of Wyoming, very crypto-friendly state. Yeah, it's a good get for them. I'm really happy they're doing it. So, let's hop on over. Just a general update about yield farmers. Oh, man, I'm sorry. Sorry, take a sip of coffee. Clear that throat a little bit. So, the majority of yield farmers do not understand how to read the potentially risky smart contracts that underpin the decentralized finance ecosystem. That hasn't stopped them. I'll be honest, I'm experimenting with Tron's DeFi a little bit. I had some Tron that wasn't doing anything sitting in my wallet, so I got me some Sun. Not much, because I didn't have much Tron, but I'm kind of playing around with it. I can't tell you the first thing about how to read a smart contract, so I fall into that group. Crypto market data aggregator CoinGecko has published its findings from a survey of 1,347 users about yield farming, finding that 93% of respondents claim to have reaped a financial return of at least 500%. I'm not at that level, but bam. And half of the users are currently farming with less than 1,000. Okay. So you got them high Ethereum fees. If you're willing to do that, I mean, they're still making a 5x return on their money or on their crypto. So it's definitely worth it, but there you go. 68% of users responded that they do not leverage their positions to minimize risk, and 49% refused to invest in unaudited products. Both really smart moves. I think leveraging their positions is definitely a more experienced and nuanced way of going about things. So if you're not sure about it, I can see why a lot of people don't. And never invest in an unaudited protocol unless you really want to just potentially throw money away. That's all. But yeah, and then it looks like a third of DeFi users are based out of Europe, a quarter in Asia, a fifth in North America. So not too bad. But over 60% of DeFi users aren't able to interpret the smart contracts underpinning the protocols they farm with. Honestly, that makes a lot of sense to me. Learning how to read all these things and figuring all that out, it requires some type of background knowledge in coding and cryptocurrencies and all that stuff that a lot of people, they're like me. Look, I got a history degree. Yeah, throw a little education in there as well. It's not exactly the most lucrative of things, and it sure as heck does not make me qualified to read a smart contract. So a lot of people are like me. We're not entirely sure what it is. We're dipping our toes in the water, trying it out, investing, seeing it, not more than we're willing to lose. So you just got to keep an eye on these things. Still, 500% returns is nothing to scoff at. It's risky. If you're going to jump into the deep end of the pool, make sure you know what you're doing. But it can be a pretty lucrative experience. So do check it out, but definitely be very cautious about it. All right. Well, in a little bit of Bitcoin news that, well, it's posting around. It's going to increase adoption, but we'll see. So Iran, 3 power plants in Iran will be offering their electricity outputs to interested Bitcoin miners, Bitcoin only, but still. The move comes after a July ruling which enabled power plants to legally mine Bitcoin. So yeah, Iran is jumping into the Bitcoin game. It's turned to this as a potential source of income amidst broader economic worries. We all know what those are, but we'll talk about them. So Irani power plants receive benefits and subsidies from the government on their fuel supplies, which in turn are used to produce power. And prior to July, they were barred from mining cryptocurrencies. It makes sense. A lot of governments definitely fear the idea of cryptocurrencies. India is a good example. How they're going to be able to engage in the business after they have to get the necessary government approval, licenses, and comply with taxes, tariffs, and all that other fun stuff. Just like the rest of the world. So 3 power plants will only use their expansion turbines for the purposes of Bitcoin mining, which uses natural gas to produce power, and it's in a cheaper alternative to liquid fuels like gas. So they're not going to be turning over the whole thing to Bitcoin, but just some of their expansion stuff that I'm sure is typically used during like peak demand times. So in off high demand times, they'll be able to mine Bitcoin with them. Look, Iran's adoption of Bitcoin, the country's got a pretty bleak economic outlook. Trade sanctions like from the United States and other countries over its controversial nuclear program. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole of politics, but there's a lot of sanctions. Iran's always struggled in the international light for being a very fundamentalist and very adversarial country to a lot of different governments around the world. As a result of that, they've always struggled, and things have only gotten worse with COVID. So it looks like they're looking at Bitcoin. It is a way for them to potentially circumnavigate some of these sanctions. However, once any government's identified that a particular Bitcoin address comes from an Iranian source, they can then simply blacklist that address from all the government stuff and blacklist it from, just put out a word to all the exchanges, hey, this is an Iranian one, don't let any transactions come in from it. Or if it does, automatically seize the funds, so it'll just turn into this big game of cat and mouse. But it is a way for them potentially to sneak some money through that they wouldn't have been able to prior. So whether you fall on that side that you support Iran or that you don't or anything like that, at the end of the day, this drives more adoption. And just looking at it from purely that expected perspective, it's just more people mining Bitcoin, which does help the network. So take the details to mean what you will, but the overall news article is basically that. So let's hop on over. The world's first Bitcoin ETF has been approved in Bermuda. Yeah, Bermuda. Oh God, the United States, we've been trying to get one here for so long. Just not happening. So the first ever Bitcoin ETF is going to be launched on the Bermuda Stock Exchange, or BSX, by Hashdex, a regulated Brazilian fund manager, and NASDAQ after garnering approval for the Hashdex NASDAQ Crypto Index, say that 5 times fast, 4 days ago. 3 million Class E shares will be issued for trading, and the exchange-traded fund is expected to go live by the end of 2020, so just 3 months. Hashdex currently boasts 46.4 I'm assuming million in assets under management across 4 funds, and uses Zappo, Kingdom Trust, and Volt for services relating to crypto custody, with KPMG auditing everything. So definitely good for Bermuda and Bermuda's NASDAQ and all that stuff. It's good that we're finally seeing this Bitcoin ETF. Hopefully it works like a trial run that then other countries, America, can then look at and take examples from and maybe get one. Because, when Bitcoin ETF, bids from various priorities in the United States like Winklevoss, VanEck, SolidX, Wilshire Phoenix, they've all been rejected by the SEC or pulled back by the applicants because they didn't think it'd get approved. The SEC has frequently claimed that applicants failed to provide enough evidence that the Bitcoin market is resistant to manipulation. That's fair. Honestly, at this point, that argument is fair. Remember when Bitcoin kept clipping $10,000, and every time it would go over, for some reason, Coinbase and BitMEX would go down? There's a lot of suspicion that there are people out there manipulating the market, so I can see why the SEC has been, a bit standoffish. But as someone who loves cryptocurrency and wants it to grow, it pisses me off because I just want it to get approved. So, speaking on the matter was the SEC's chair, Jay Clayton, who said that the Bitcoin ETF in the U.S. is possible, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Again, if it goes well in Bermuda, maybe it'll open the door for the U.S. Here's hoping, at least. And then to kind of cap things off, there's a joke coin called Meme. It's now worth $600,000 because 2020 and crypto. So it's a community-driven project inspired by Consensus developers' satire of the yield farming bubble. It's gained nearly 100% in 24 hours to post an all-time high of $1,775 after being listed on Poloniex. Since the start of September, Meme has gained more than 90%, despite its supporters promoting the project through a slogan, "Don't buy Meme, Meme is worthless." It's currently 254th by market cap with $48 million. With more than $17 million worth of Meme changing hands in the past 24. The project's unlikely rise began when Consensus DeFi product lead Jordan Lyle created a mock advertisement for a yield farming protocol generator dubbed the D-Generator. Within hours of this, someone created an ERC20 token under the same name and listed on Uniswap under the ticker Meme. The 28,000 token supply was distributed via airdrop in batches of 250 to Telegram users within 30 minutes with tokens creation. So they've definitely gone crazy with this. Jordan Lyle on Twitter said 11 days ago the Meme team was born just minutes after my Degenerator tweet mocked YOLO DeFi development. Now, against all odds and irony, it's a passionate community experimenting with DeFi and art. Meme is a non-fungible token farming protocol, and the LP pool is live. Absolute insanity. Gotta love the cryptocurrency field. It makes me smile, it makes me laugh, it makes me cry. The whole breadth of human emotions, really. But anyways, that will do it for the trending articles today. As always, my name is John with Crypto Top 10. Really do appreciate it. If you've made it to this point and you haven't subscribed, why not? Really does help out this channel wherever you're finding me. so that way you can get these daily news updates. If you are a subscriber, thank you. I really do appreciate it. I enjoy making these videos, so please keep listening and I'll keep making them. Now, taking a look at the top 10 coins by market cap really quick. Oh boy, we were in like double-digit downs prior to this. You know, yesterday was pretty rough. Ethereum's still down 4% on the day, coming in at 343, but it looks like that is the worst one of the top 10. The best one of the top 10 is Binance. It's actually positive 1%, but still everything is down in a way that hurts my soul. Past 24 hours, Solana, number 88 by market cap, is up 10%. That's the biggest winner. That's pretty pathetic in my opinion. With the biggest loser being Orchid, it was actually the biggest winner yesterday, or it was one of them. It's down 20% on the day. Uniswap is actually down 13%, continuing a downward trend since its massive boost initially, and Neo's taken a hit as well. But that will do it for Crypto Top 10. Again, my name is John. Thanks for checking me out, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.